Welcome to the Movie Pro Podcast.
This podcast may contain rambling, foolishness, and spoilers. Duh.
Hello and welcome to Movie Probe with me, your host with the most, and then I'll pass over to the other host who's not got quite as much, but he still tries. I'm Martin Cowan and I'm here with my very good friend, Stewart Ryan Cinnamon.
Hello, everybody. I'm quite offended by that opening, but do you know what? It's the weather's good, the sun is shining. I'm just gonna let it slide because I'm having a good time. I'm tanned, kind of. But I'm also
you're
very
tanned.
burnt.
I'm burned. Yeah. I'm burned.
Yes.
I'm obviously of the ginger variety, which means I burn after being in the sun for 30 seconds.
Yep.
So yeah.
I'm also half ginger. I'm a half breed.
That's right.
So mine's not quite 30 seconds. I can last at least 2 minutes.
You're like a mudblood for gingers.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Anyway, how's
brilliant.
your week been?
Yeah, good. Just obviously like lockdown's been slightly lifted here.
That's right. That's happened this week.
Like not majorly, like not really in any way has it affected me as such because other than the fact I've actually seen you outside.
Yeah.
So that rather than just on this. And I have seen a few
on
people
the line,
like just outside and whatnot. So, yeah. Other than that, I don't play golf, so that doesn't affect me. It obviously affects my family because that's what they work in a golf course, so that affects them. But I'm still working. My shifts are now dropping down, so we're now recording this on the actual date that we normally record it.
Yeah,
So,
back to the normal schedule.
back to the old schedule. Yes, so we're recording this on a Monday, which means I'm able to squeeze in a bit of extra news.
Well, that set us up quite well there. So we'll move into Stu's news. What have you got
Stu's
for
news.
for me this week? What have you got for me this week?
What have I got for you this week? Oh, I've got plenty, Martin. Right, so everyone knows previously before Avengers Endgame took the crown that Avatar was the number one grossing movie of all time. Yes?
That's right, it was. And then Endgame batted that away.
The Endgame batted that away, yes. But Avatar 2, there's been some plot details shared.
Oh,
so would you
really?
like to hear? Would you like to hear what's came from John Lando, the producer of the film?
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, here we go. This is what he says. This is a story of the Sully family and what one does to keep their family together. Jake and Neytiri, have I said that right? Yeah, Neytiri.
I believe so, but
Yep.
don't quote me.
Right? Jake and Neytiri have a family in this movie. They are forced to leave their home. They go out and explore the different regions of Pandora, including spending quite a bit of time on the water, around the water, in the water. And that's all it says.
It's cool.
So that sounds very ominous, but very interessant.
Yeah, it's
as the French
very
would say.
interesting. I knew that the water was going to play a big part in the film, considering they spent so much time postponing filming the film because James Cameron with his team were developing new technology to film in the water.
Is that why he went in the submarine?
Probably. I don't really know.
I'm pretty sure, like, he definitely did something in a submarine, but I can't remember if that was like a film, or like a documentary kind of film or whatever.
Yeah, I know he does
know.
some documentaries, so it might have been to do with that. I don't know.
But then obviously he could use that technology for that, and he thought, hey, while I'm down here,
Quite possibly.
You
All
know,
I know is
when
that
in
they
Rome.
spent. Yeah, I know they spent a lot of time developing new technology to film whatever technique they're using in the water. And that's one of the reasons it was delayed for so long, because they expected to have, because they're inventing new technology, so he was expecting it to be made and usable by a certain time, and then it was pushed back at least a couple of years before it was ready. So yeah, I knew it would be quite like an important part of the movie, but for them to actually say the film is set spending a lot of time in and around water. It's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. So yeah, I'm excited to finally actually have some Avatar news, considering the first one was made over 10 years ago.
Yep. So, what do you think? Is it going to take Avengers' crown, or do you think that the franchise has died down a bit too much?
It will be close. I really believe it will be close. Um, it's a difficult one because it has been such a huge gap, and one of the big things that first Avatar had around the first time was the fact it was this amazing 3D technology, and everyone went to see it in 3D, and it
Yeah.
looked phenomenal. 3D's
Mhm.
not big anymore.
No.
The almost the novelty is past. I
I
still
know
like
you're a big
seeing.
fan.
I like
Yeah.
3D. Seeing it in a proper big screen, and I'm a
I
fan of it. But I know a lot of people that aren't,
yeah, I couldn't
including
care
you.
less.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're not
I
bothered.
I really couldn't care less. Especially for the fact of they charge more as well.
Yeah,
And when, we obviously we don't get them for free, but essentially we do get them for free because
limitless card
we
members.
pay, yeah, because we pay for a subscription.
Yep.
And, but if we go see a 3D film, fair enough, it's £1. And you're basically you're paying the pound for the glasses, which is fair enough, but
Yeah,
there's not enough in it. 3D isn't for me. 3D isn't the big spectacle that it once was, where
yeah,
things were coming out of the
yeah,
screen and
yeah.
all this kind of stuff. And obviously, with the way it's developed, I do appreciate it. Like whenever we go see a big release, like you, me, and say your brother comes along,
Yeah.
like we always go and see it in 3D because I'm technically outvoted because the two of you really like your 3D, and I do see the difference and the benefit but for me it doesn't add so much to a movie that I will go out my way and see a film in 3D.
Yeah. So
Um,
that's what's going to be interesting with Avatar is now that that novelty thing has passed for the majority of people, if the new water technology will be enough, as well as, of course, the franchise being huge. The film was obviously the highest grossing movie of all time before Avengers Endgame came out. How much people still care about seeing the sequel. I mean, they're making another three, I think.
yeah, something
Um,
like that. Yeah,
So how interested are people going to be? Because these were originally meant to come out years ago,
hmm
and it's taken this long to make them.
yeah,
So I don't know if people are going to care as much about Avatar 2 as
yeah,
they did about Avengers Endgame, which is riding the high point at the moment. It's not
yeah.
hit it in this. It'll be interesting. I personally do not think it will beat Endgame, but I do think it'll be close.
Do you think it'll make over £1 billion?
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty confident about that.
Fair enough. Speaking of a movie franchise that we thought was dying, which could potentially be rebrought to life, Henry Cavill apparently back in talks to be Superman again, but
Really?
not in a solo movie.
Right.
There's talks that it's just going to be a cameo. So some of the ones that I've kind of thought that it could be is Shazam 2, maybe, Black Adam, or Aquaman 2.
Hmm.
Because they're all
Yeah.
big ones. They're all big ones showing up, coming up soon, or the next on definitely DC slate. Obviously his character was did appear you know in quotation marks there. It wasn't actually him,
In
and
Shazam.
Superman did appear in Shazam.
Yeah.
Um, Black Adam does have a few links with Superman in the DC universe. I believe there's been an animated film where they fight each other. And then Aquaman, obviously, it's still Jason Momoa. And then that's obviously a continuation of that story and still set in that kind of Justice League universe. So obviously there's that link. But I don't know. It's one of the things which I'm kind of for because although the movies weren't fantastic like any DC movie, I thought he was good. I
Hmm.
thought he was a good Superman. He's certainly got the look. His acting is brilliant. He's been in many other things since Superman. Obviously, Mission Impossible, Man from Uncle. Take from both of those what you wish. But I thought he was very good, especially Mission Impossible. Fallout, I believe he was in.
Yeah, he was in Fallout.
So yeah, it doesn't make this news is news, but it doesn't make me excited.
No, I mean, I would have been more excited if he said, "Oh, he might reprise his role of Superman, and he's gonna play, even if he doesn't have his own solo film." Even
No,
if
he
it's a
is.
case of
He's going to be Superman.
yeah, but not have his
Yeah.
own solo film.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's the current. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the current.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If that was the case, then I'd be like, "Oh, that's good." But even if he doesn't have his own solo film, if it was at least playing a big part, like
Yeah.
like you say, almost
Well,
like the whole Batman versus Superman thing, like he had to have a big part. But if it's just gonna be a cameo, where oh yeah, he'll come back and he'll do a couple of scenes with somebody. Say it's Aquaman, and he'll come in and be in it for a couple of minutes and go away. I'm no bothered.
Yeah.
I could take it or leave it.
Well, I mean, he could play a big part in 3 of those films. He could play very much an Iron Man-y kind of role if we're going to compare it to like Spider-Man: Homecoming. With those guys, there could be a whole. He has to team up with Shazam or the family. He has to team up with them or something. Same with Aquaman. So it might be more of a team-up movie than a cameo as such. Just where I'd seen it written down, it was kind of said it was a cameo as such. So that could be a short cameo. It could be a long cameo. It could be a whole team-up movie. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very early stages.
Cool.
So, have you ever played the game Borderlands?
No, I have not.
Well, this is off to a really hot start because neither have I. So, I believe Netflix are going to be doing a Borderlands movie, and Cate Blanchett has been cast in it as Lilith the Siren. So that means nothing to either of us, but we like Cate Blanchett. I like Cate Blanchett.
You like Cate Blanchett. My response to Cate Blanchett is, which one is she again?
She was Hela in Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, she was good in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so again, I like her.
Yeah. So again, I mean, it's a video game movie. As a self-proclaimed nerd, I will watch a video game movie, even if I've not played the video game. And yeah, that's news.
Yeah. Cool. And if you at home, if you know more about this game than we do, clearly, because we know nothing, get in contact with us, message us, whether that's on a comment on a post on Facebook, or just get in contact with some other way.
Or send a raven.
You can send a raven, or just message us on Instagram or something. But yeah, it'd be good to know more. If you know about it, get in contact.
I mean, it has been a game that obviously I've seen a lot advertised of it. There's a weird kind of animation style to it. I did almost buy the third one. I know that's like, oh, how can you jump in a franchise at the third one? Well, it's a game. Who cares? But I did almost buy it, but I ended up not buying it. I can't remember why. But anyway, I move on to the last bit of news, and probably the most exciting piece of news for us.
Okay, right.
Is Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh.
The most underrated... Well, sorry. Underrated isn't the right word. The underhyped... The film we were all willing to be so bad that it actually ended up being fantastic.
I loved it. I love Sonic.
And it's been so fantastic, even with the little tease that they had at the end. They're getting it. They're getting their sequel, Martin. We're doing it. We're going again. We're going for another round of Jim Carrey Eggman.
I'm so happy.
We're going for Sonic, Tails. Who knows what other characters will come up? Yeah, Knuckles. I want to see Knuckles.
That'd be so good. I really enjoyed Sonic. It was surprisingly good, especially with the whole disaster with the original design of Sonic, and everyone thought this is just going to be... Yeah, everyone thought this is going to be a disaster. They redesigned him and launched the film, and the film was actually very, very good. Really enjoyed it. And
highest grossing video game movie of all time.
Is it? I didn't even know that.
Yep. Cool. It beat Detective Pikachu.
I'm surprised at that, because Detective Pikachu had Pokemon and Ryan Reynolds.
Well, yeah.
So
Pokemon is the highest selling franchise in the world outside of Disney. That isn't owned by Disney. Pokemon is the highest selling franchise.
I'm just waiting on you to give me the movie news that Detective Pikachu is getting some form of sequel, but
I think it is.
I don't know if it's been
but
confirmed or not.
yeah,
You'll need to look that up
be-
and tell me next week.
yeah, it'd be weird if there was one anyway. But yep, Sonic 2. I'm pitching a Sonic trequel, Sonic threequel, where it's I think they're going to do Eggman again. Well, obviously they did Robotnik in the first one. They'll do more Eggman in the second one, and then I think in the third one is when we're finally going to see Shadow the Hedgehog.
I thought Robotnik
you're
and
gonna-
Eggman was the same person.
It is the same person, but Robotnik is more of his human kind of side. Like you've
Right.
seen that in the movie,
Right,
and he only kind of got the name Eggman because Sonic gave him that nickname.
right.
So Robotnik is like the Earth version. Eggman is like the Sonic World version, and then I think in the third one you'll see like Eggman will still be a part of it, but you'll see Shadow being the main villain. I think.
Yeah, that's cool because I'm just happy for Jim Carrey because he's not done much recently that's been any good. So I'm happy that he's actually got a role it suits him really well. Actually,
Yeah, it is a very Jim Carrey role, and then after seeing the movie, you would struggle to go like who would play this, and the only other person that I could possibly think of would be like Robin Williams, who is sadly no longer with us.
Exactly.
I think it's gold. I think it's a franchise which will continue to grow. Obviously, it's got the kids market behind there, so it'll make a shed ton of money, no matter what. And the nostalgia factor. So as long as they keep churning out, if they churn out sequels as high kind of quality as the first one, I think we'll be grand.
Yeah, me too.
I think we'll be grand.
Me too.
But alas, that is all for Stu's news for today.
Excellent. Well,
Let's
enjoyed that.
Let's move in.
That was enjoyed that. Mainly the last bit of news. That was exciting for me. Looking forward to that. Excellent. So, let's move on to the movie review for this week. It's
Dum,
been
dum, dum.
We need to get some music to put in when we move.
Some stings.
Some stings. We'll do that.
And not Sting from the Police.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be good. Yeah, exactly. I'm not the only one who does bad jokes. Stuart Ryan Cinnamon does them too. So we'll move on to the movie. This week I have chosen The Matrix.
Wake up!
Well, I can already tell that Stuart's enjoyed the music from that. Because up until...
It's the only thing I told you after.
Yeah, because you, as you said in the previous podcast, you have, up until this, you had not seen The Matrix.
No.
So did you know...
I'd seen bits.
Yeah.
I'd seen bits.
So what did you know beforehand in terms of plot point? Or did you
a guy gets pulled into so the way I kind of thought of it was, or kind of thought it was a guy gets pulled into like a computer world, but it's the other way about, isn't it? Like our world is like the simulation as such, and that's like the real world. I knew the red pill, blue pill scene. There was the karate scene as well when they're training.
Yeah.
I knew I'd seen that before. Yeah. And then the bit where he does the whoo, I don't know why I keep doing movements like nobody can see this. When he does the slow motion lean back scene.
Yeah.
And when he stops the bullets as well, like whoom.
So there's
I know all them.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of famous scenes, and they're the main ones that you spoke of there, that you will have at least seen in, if nothing else, meme form.
Yeah, can I ask? See the music that is also used in The Apprentice.
I don't watch The Apprentice, so.
Oh, okay. So it's like the one that's like dum 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 dum. No, that sounds too jolly. I'll send you it later.
Right.
I can't remember what. Oh, Morpheus is explaining something to him. I think it's when Morpheus is explaining how the world or how this whole simulation thing works.
Uh-huh.
And it's a very famous piece of music, but I don't know whether it was used in the film or whether it was made for the film or whether it was like something they found. So that was what I was going to ask, but if you don't know...
I have no idea.
Shall we ask Bill? No, I'm kidding. It's not that kind of podcast. It's not that podcast.
No.
Sorry. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Hear
Right,
the
on you go, sorry.
story. Oh yeah, love that podcast. Love Fake Doctors, Real Friends. Great podcast.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so what I really wanted to do with this week is just to ask you what you thought of the film off the bat, because you had never seen it. But before I launch into the reasons why I picked it to be in this list, I wanted to know what you thought of the movie. So, off the bat, what did you think of this film?
Um, I didn't take any notes down, because I was expecting you to like ask me questions. I did take two notes down, but I can't. They're on the phone I'm recording off, so I can't remember what it is. In fact, I can go and look at that. Give me a second. I don't think there were any ground shattering notes, to be honest. I just wrote down like three scenes. So I can talk about them.
Or just give
I
it,
can talk about them.
just give me an impression of if you liked it, if you didn't like it, whether, yeah,
Yeah, I liked it. I was intrigued to watch more because obviously there's two sequels. In terms of like in the high rating films, it's not up there for me. Like I very much enjoyed it, but there was still points where I was checking my phone. Like it didn't have, and whether that's because of the setting that I have, obviously because I'm just watching it in my room, or whether it was anything to do with the film, then it didn't like. I don't think I was fully focused, but I did enjoy it. I did really enjoy it. Like there was parts of it which I think is, it's amazingly acted, the whole way through.
Yep.
Some of the action sequences are like revolutionary, and that's the thing. I think that's the thing that I enjoyed most about it. So the film obviously came out in 1999.
Yeah.
And some of the effects and some of the ideas on it are just like next level.
Yeah.
Like they're just so like the whole film is like, I mean, to actually sit there and think of the premise, is mental. Like the premise of the film is just mental to think.
Oh yeah.
And I find it very funny because we're involved in a lot of groups and we talk to a lot of people, and I think a lot of people would kind of be like, yes, this is what the world is actually kind of like now. We are not living in the real world. Stuff that's going on in the world right now is mental. So I know that folk are like very like, yes, this is what life actually is, and I could see that from a conspiracy theories like kind of thing of like, actually the Matrix isn't a sci-fi film, it's a documentary.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed it. I'm eager to watch more. I want to see the sequels. Just see where it goes. Like, I was going to ask you, like, I was going to be like, oh, so is Neo actually the one then?
I mean, if you're planning on watching the sequels,
yeah, which is
whether
why
you
I
want me
don't
to
want you to answer that question.
Right, okay.
Because, but I have read something about the Matrix 4, which obviously I've not seen 2 and 3, but I'm going to put it out there to you to tell me if you think it's a good idea or not.
I think I know what you're going to say, but carry on.
We may have spoke about it in the past, I don't know. But in Matrix 4, they're looking at maybe Neo being the villain.
Oh, right, that wasn't what I thought you were going to say, but yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I'm trying not to spoil for you personally, what happens in Matrix 2 and 3. But the way that ends leaves that as a possibility, considering, yeah. I'm trying to pick my words quite carefully here so that I'm not giving anything away, but yes, that leaves that it does leave it as a possibility, but it's certainly not a sure thing. It really does depend where they want to take it, because the way that 3 ended, it rounded it off like it was a trilogy, and they finished the trilogy. So
yeah,
for them to do a 4, and the way they ended it is possible, but yeah, it depends on whether it depends on whether in Matrix 4 they're gonna have Neo as the main character, or whether they take it another route and have someone else as the main character and have him be in it. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, I know what you're talking about when you're saying that it leaves it open, because I mean, cheekily I did like Google like just before the film ended, like kind of halfway through. In fact, even when it was mentioned that he was the one, I Googled is Neo the one? Because it's like
See,
one of
this
those.
this is
But
what annoys me
no,
about
but
you is that you
it
can't
tells
you can't even
no,
get through to the end of the movie without going, oh, I'm just gonna find out the answer.
no. But that's the thing. I googled it and I still like it's that open. I still couldn't come. I don't know. I can't tell you because there was so many articles like saying, um, reasons why he's not, reasons why he is, reasons why he's not, and like this is why he's not,
Mm.
and this is why he is, and all this kind of stuff. So there was nowhere out there without me going and sitting and watching, which I wasn't going to do because I was already watching a movie, watching the film anyway. I
Yeah,
could not find a conclusive answer to the question, so that's why I want to kind of go and watch 2 and 3 because I'm like, oh, is it? Because that sounds like he might actually not be. That the fact it's so open, and obviously I've seen that news about how they were going to have him as the villain or something like that, or as the kind of Agent Smith type. And then that kind of made me go, well, if they're mentioning that he's the one, and Neo is like one, but spelt around different and stuff like that, and so yeah,
yeah.
I enjoyed it. I wouldn't rush to watch it again.
Mm.
I'm interested to see where it goes. I would watch the other two, and I'll see the new one when it comes out. As such,
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's good. It's good to see. Or it's good to hear even. Um, I take from someone who because it has been out for like say 11 years or something. Um,
2021.
yes,
Yeah,
21.
20,
I'm
21
completely
years.
Yeah. Sorry, 21 years. But yeah, it's interesting to hear someone's take on it who hasn't seen it before because most people our age have seen that film, and already have their like preconceived ideas about it. So yeah, so I obviously picked this film because I love it. And it's definitely up there for me as an all-time great film. Um, there's so much. One of the things I love about this film is that there's so many layers to it. It's not just simple. This happens, then that happens, and
Yeah,
everything you see on the surface is everything that it is. It's very in depth, and if you go on YouTube, there's plenty of videos
the
that
theories and stuff.
yeah, there's a lot of theories and blah 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 about what different things can mean. There's also a lot of biblical references and
Mm.
parallels and mirroring in this film, not just to do with Christianity, but apparently lots of other religions as well. But there's loads in there, and when you start looking at it through almost like through a different lens, like obviously we're both Christians, but like when I first saw it, I wasn't a Christian, so I just seen it as a action sort of film. Really enjoyed it. That's why it's on this list. But
Mm.
then going back and watching it years later through a different perspective, like, oh yeah, I can see how there's all these parallels. It's just really interesting to me. Um, but yeah, so um, starting off with the film, as we start, I've got my iPad here, right,
I can see.
as you can see,
You look
which
like a granny there for a
I
moment,
know,
just how close it's like, oh, can I
right up.
see it? I can't read it. I
Can't
can't read
get
it.
how to make it bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we open the film with the Trinity in the room with all the
Hmm.
police officers outside it, and
Here's something. In fact,
yeah,
I'll wait to the end.
okay,
I'll wait to the end because you
why?
may touch on it eventually anyway.
Okay, so what was interesting about that? It was this is almost like a wee Easter egg that before I even talked about the film, a wee Easter egg that I discovered about it was that uh, that room is room 303, which is the same room that they use at the end of the film for Neo to pick up the phone. It's the same room, which is actually why Agent Smith knows what room he's going to, and he gets there first because that's
Uh,
the open that he knows he's going to that room to get out.
yeah.
Which I picked up on this time. I'm just like, oh, that's room 303. That's really cool. Anyway, so yeah, so that was that. The amazing sort of action sequence at the beginning with the whole Trinity fighting and with the big hanging in the air kick and running around the walls and all that stuff.
Yeah, the
What I,
fighting's incredible in the film.
yeah, oh, it's amazing. And what I love, I love it, and I find it dead interesting. Because as I was watching it this time, I was thinking about it from your perspective. Like, what would you? Because it's been such a long time since I'd seen it for the first time. I was like, what would you be thinking in this situation, not knowing at this part in the movie, not knowing what's coming? And I feel at the beginning of the film, you're just like, what's going on? I feel like at least maybe the first 20 minutes, a half an hour, you're kind of just like, what is going on here? Because it's
Yeah.
before you meet Morpheus, and that's when things actually start to unravel. It's this film where these like agents are they're jumping over big gaps, like huge building gaps, skyscrapers, which
Yeah.
is impossible. And even the police officers are like, "That's impossible," and they still do it and all this stuff. And then the truck, when Trinity's trying to get to the phone booth, and the truck skids, and then the phone starts ringing. She's running towards the phone. If you don't know what's coming, you're like, "What on earth is she doing? She's about to die, trying to pick up the phone." And then, but apparently she got out, and you're like, "What?" Obviously, that all gets explained as she go through. Um,
hmm
but I just love the fact that there's this area of it's a real mystery to what on earth is going on for a good chunk of the movie. Um, and then we move on to meet Neo, um, who's just this guy sitting in his
He's
room.
just a guy.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
And he's sitting in his room with his headphones on, sleeping with his computer, doing some sort of search, which could see Morpheus on the screen, and he's clearly searching for Morpheus because he has this thing, he needs to find him, which he can't quite explain. And then, obviously, the screen goes black, and it comes on the screen, "Wake up, Neo," and he wakes up.
Yeah.
And then you've got the whole, the Matrix has you. Follow the white rabbit, knock knock.
White
And
rabbit.
then the door knocks, and he's like, what is going on? And then obviously, but he goes to the door, and he's like, this group of people going are here to get a computer program off of him because Neo's a hacker, and obviously creates computer programs for money. But I don't know whether it's viruses or whatever it is. But this is the first, and there's a lot of foreshadowing and also comparison to like the idea of Neo kind of being the sort of Jesus-y character.
Yeah.
Because the first thing the guy says to him after he hands him the virus, as he says to him, "You're my savior. You're my own personal Jesus Christ." And I'm just like, that's so all of this stuff is very intentional. I'm just like, oh, that's really cool. And the guy also tells him that you need to unplug, man. And you're like, when you know what's coming eventually, you're like, oh, I see what they've done there. They've done all this stuff. And then he actually goes on to say, when Neo says, "Oh, if you get caught with that, you're in trouble," sort of thing. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's never happened. We don't exist." And it's like, there's like all of that's very intentional to leading to where Neo's journey is going and what this world is. And that sort of thing, the whole foreshadowing thing also carries on with when Agent Smith eventually gets him into. Well, obviously you've got the bit before that when Neo's in the office, getting pretty much getting a bollocking from his boss for being late. Some of the stuff his boss says in there is also foreshadowing, basically saying you've got two choices. You can either basically turn up on time and do what I'm telling you to do, or you've lost your job. And then Agent Smith, when he arrests him and takes him into the police station, is saying you're living two lives. Like, you've got basically the life of Mr. Anderson and the life of Neo. Neo being the hacker guy and Mr. Anderson being this law-abiding citizen, and one of these has a future, one of them hasn't. And that all of that is all sort of foreshadowing and metaphors for the two worlds, the world of the Matrix, which is a lie of being the real world, which it isn't, and the real world in which is the world of where the machines have basically taken over the planet. So I love how there's like all that in-depthy foreshadowing, and it's you don't really know where it's going. And And then it's like these like almost like psychedelic-y scenes, like um when his mouth gets shut up, with the
Oh
skin.
yeah,
You're like,
that's
whoa.
yeah, that was the first time I kind of went. That was one of the first times I kind of went, wow, the FX in this is like really good.
Yeah,
Like for being 1999,
yeah,
like
yeah.
just how it was almost horror movie esque, like how it was
No,
just
yeah, that bit was, yeah. As a kid, that was pretty scary because obviously I saw it when I was much younger.
yeah.
And there's that, and then they get the whole wee tracking thing, and like goes into his stomach, and you're like, and he's like,
Oh, the bug.
yeah,
The bug,
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
did write down about debugging. So when we get to debugging, I'll speak on that.
Speak on. Well, we're gonna speak on that now because I'm not going anywhere else really, apart apart from the fact that it was, like you say, cool effects and did like psychedelic-y, like whoa, what's going on? So like you
Yeah,
say, that pretty much leads us straight to that bit when they're in the car, and
yeah,
Neo has to make that choice when they say to him when they have the gun on him, it's our way or the highway, and he opens the door and he's about to leave. And he has to make that choice. Are you gonna walk away from this, or are you gonna go through with it? And he decides to stay. And that's when they do the debugging, which I'll
yeah.
pass over to you to talk about.
It was grim, man. Like I just had my dinner, and it was a really hard. It was a really hard scene to watch. Like obviously from him like screaming in pain to the thing just being like sucked out and stuff like that, and there was like all blood, and I was just
Yeah.
like, "Yeet, I'm not about that." So I thought that I written down in my notes, debugging is gross.
And that's probably one of the first times there's that bleed through of what reality is and what reality isn't.
Yeah,
Because obviously Neo, after the whole bit in the police station, Neo wakes up and it's almost like, oh no, that was just a dream. And then he gets debugged and he's like, oh, no, that was real. So there's this really blurred lines of what's reality and what's not reality.
yeah,
And there's
yeah.
obviously some of the lines about like, oh, do you ever like fall asleep and or you wake up but you think you're still dreaming and all of that stuff. It's like what's real and what isn't.
Yes, it's called sleep paralysis.
Yeah. Um.
No, I think I get that as well, especially when you put it that way. Like, um, obviously the beginning of the film, it's all like you're kind of put in his mindset of, well, what is real, what isn't real,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's so like things do seem a bit like, oh, surely that didn't just happen. But then it's like the more in the film you get, and the further on you go, yeah, that actually did happen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So things start to become a bit more clearer to you, or the difference starts to become a bit more clearer to you
Yeah.
as it
Yeah.
becomes clearer to him.
Yeah. And obviously that leads him to meeting Morpheus, for the first time, and it brings together head to this question that kind of covers the whole first act for especially for not only for Neo but for the audience as well who've never seen it before, of what is the Matrix. And if it's the first time you've seen this film and you're going into it, that's the big question. The film's called The Matrix. All this weird stuff's going on. The characters are asking what's the Matrix. It's all hinted at in code. Um, so it comes to a head when and Morpheus starts talking to him, and he yet again continues to give away a little bit, but not loads. Like in terms of, because he goes on to say, no one can tell you what the Matrix is. You need to see it for yourself.
Yeah,
But he does that whole big speech of, oh, the Matrix is everything around us, and it's when you pay your taxes and wash your car and all this stuff.
that's when the tune that's on. It's like boom, 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 boom. Somebody will know. Somebody listening will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, if you know what it is, like you say, messages, because
I'm gonna find it.
Yeah.
As soon as we finish here, I'm gonna
Okay.
find
Yeah,
it.
don't
Send
bother.
It to you
Don't bother then.
This is what it was.
Yeah. I know, I could look it up myself, but well, yeah, I'll let you do that. Yeah, and that leads us straight into one of the most memorable, memeable, and iconic scenes in the film is with the red pill and the blue pill. It's like if you take the red pill, I can't remember what way around it is.
It's blue pill, your life goes back to normal.
Yeah.
Red pill. And do you know why I remember that? Because I'm a Man United fan. And I go, red pill is where you go down deeper down the rabbit hole. I'm like, yep, supporting Man United's like going down a rabbit hole, I can tell you that. So that was the link there. Yep, that was the link. So red is the one he takes.
Yeah. So he obviously takes the red pill, and that's when his world gets turned upside down.
Yeah, I feel like people who haven't seen the movie have seen that scene.
Yeah.
Like, I certainly had seen that scene without seeing the movie.
Yeah. It's like I say, it's one of the biggest and sort of very memeable. There's lots of memes about it, but even just it's an iconic scene that loads of people have seen.
Yeah, there's a whole like TikTok trend on it. Like, not regarding the scene. It's like, oh, if you take this red pill, then you get like £1 billion. But one of your family dies, or you take this blue pill and you live forever, but you're always poor, and things like that.
Right. Yeah. I see how that would make sense in terms of that meme. So yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, for the choice of taking that, it leads him to then wake up into what we discover is the real world. And when he's in the pod and he's got no hair and he's got all these cables in him,
Baldy.
and whatever, the cable and tube in his mouth, and he pulls that out and he's like,
oh, that was grim and all.
Yeah, and
that was grim as
yeah.
Parts of this movie, man, are just
That's the thing. So really, sort of, I say gritty, but in terms of like, it's there's certain elements which are like, whoa, this is kind of. I don't know if dark's the right word, but sort of. I like to think of it as like kind of either psychedelic or like dystopic. Is that the right word? Like dystopian.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. You know, it's just like yeah. You're just kind of like, whoa, this is just like so alien, but it's like makes sense as you begin to unravel the world. But you're like, whoa, what's going on? From the start of the movie to not knowing what the Matrix is to where it leads to, you're like, whoa, this is mental. So yeah, and then they end up building him up from nothing. He's like, I don't know how long it is, but he spends a good amount of time like getting needles put in him and building his muscles up and doing a lot of work because the whole point is that this is the first time he's ever woken up in the real world, and he's never used his muscles before.
So it's like a baby,
he's never, exactly. He's never used his eyes. But that's one of the lines actually. He says, "Why do my eyes hurt?" And Morpheus says, "Because you've never used them before."
Whoa!
Yeah.
On so many levels, it's that deep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. And then once they've eventually built him up enough that he wakes up in the real world properly, and Morpheus shows him what's called the construct, which is the first time they enter into some form of computer program in which they're able to load anything, and basically because it is a computer program, and that's what Morpheus uses to explain to Neo what the Matrix is. And I've written down a wee bit of basically what it's not a quote from Morpheus, but it's more or less sums up what the Matrix is, and it's just it. The reason why I love this film is the concept of it. It's just mind blowing, and I'm just like, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
It's the idea of the world we live in being a computer program designed by machines to keep our minds active and alive so they can use us as a power source. And that's what the Matrix is.
It's like that Rick and Morty episode.
Yes. Yeah, kind of.
When they go into the Teenyverse and then go into the Tinyverse and with his car battery. Yeah. And I remember thinking that when I watched that, actually, I was like, something was said like that, or like, I know that's not the exact line, but something close was said to that, because that set off the fire in my head going, that's exactly like that episode of Rick and Morty where they need to start the car battery.
Yeah, the Matrix did it first.
Is that what it's based off of?
Yeah, I don't know. But that's basically what the Matrix is. But for an adult mind, that's incredibly difficult to accept. And that's what
Yeah.
it's like. Could you imagine if that bombshell
Well,
was dropped on you today? If you
yeah, if
discovered
you were
that
to wake
your
up tomorrow
entire
and everybody said,
yeah,
yeah,
your entire life's been a lie. You've just been inside a computer program, and this is what the real world is. Um, you wouldn't be able to accept it, and that's why he actually says that they broke the rule by actually setting
aye,
Neo free because they don't.
they said he was too old.
Yeah, but they
Aye,
only did it because of what Morpheus believes, and that is that
that he's the one.
he's the one, and that's where another big bit of the whole parallels in religion comes in because of the whole Morpheus tells a story of in the beginning, like of the Matrix, there was someone who came in who could change the world as he pleased, and he set the first few free and all that stuff, and
Yeah,
then when he died, the Oracle prophesized that he'd come again and all that stuff, and you're just like, I'm just sitting there after watching it now, just like, whoa, there's so much in that I never saw when I'd seen it just as a film. But I'm not gonna
so
get into much more of
Martin's now going to be doing a 5-point sermon
that.
on the
No,
Matrix.
not quite, but yeah. But man, there's so much to it. I'm not gonna go any further than that because I would be here all day talking about different things like that. But just as a film, what I found really interesting, because it's the same thing that I think we would all ask the question, because obviously, as I say, Neo at first couldn't accept it, and he was sick and everything, passed out. And when he wakes up, the first thing he says to Morpheus is, "I can't go back, can I?" And it's
Yeah,
that way of knowing what you know now.
yeah, you can't, you
You
wouldn't be able
can't,
to
yeah,
accept it.
you
Like,
can't unlearn what you know. And the fact that he now knows that the whole world was a lie, even if he did want to go back, he
you couldn't,
he would know it's a lie, so he just
you
couldn't.
wouldn't, yeah, you wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like mentally, you couldn't
yeah,
handle that. Imagine being shown that. Imagine being in his position of you've been shown that everything you knew for. I mean, say it was what, early 20s or something like that. His whole
yeah,
life has been a lie, and somebody comes along and is like, well, say we're 25, 26 between the pair of us. So I mean, imagine someone was to come up with you and be like, here, see everything you know, or everything like your favorite places to go don't exist, or like stuff like that, and then just being told, yeah, that's all a lie. Like you wouldn't be able to handle that mentally as a person.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's it. I think Neo goes through so much in this mentally, because not only that has he just discovered that his whole life was a lie, he then immediately goes on to
Mm.
be told that, oh yeah, and you're the savior of the world, by the way.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't
Yeah,
it? When you
it's
actually
like,
think
what?
about
It's
that,
like,
it's
yeah,
mental.
literally Morpheus tells his whole story, and he says, I did what I did because I believe I found that person who's the savior of the world. I believe it's you. And he's like, what?
Yeah,
And for that to be dropped on you, you're like, and then he immediately starts to go and learn kung fu.
great scene though.
Yeah.
Great scene.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the other iconic, like, if you like YouTube scenes. If you go into YouTube and type in the Matrix, it's one of the first things that comes up
Yeah,
is the Neo and Morpheus fight, like kung fu fight in the gym. It's just that iconic. And yet it wasn't just put in there for a bit of, oh yeah, let's just have a kung fu scene. It's more
yeah,
explaining to how the Matrix works and how the world works in terms of, like, this place has rules that, like a computer program, some could be bent and some could be broken. Um,
yeah,
but like say, so you need to learn what ones, more or less, what ones you can bend or break, which is why they can run up walls and all that stuff and do seemingly undoable things in the real world, because they know how to bend the rules, because they actually know that this is a fake world, not a real one.
yeah. Because is that not why he says to him, "How do you think I know? How do you think I know what you're gonna do?"
He says
Is that not,
to him, do you think that or he says to him, why do you think I'm faster than you or stronger than you?
oh
He
right,
says,
okay.
and he says, do you think that my muscles have any bearing of how strong I am in this place? considering their computer code,
Yeah.
basically. And then he leans over
Yeah.
and he does the famous, "Do you think that's air you're breathing now?" Which is very memeable because there's loads of people who think they're comedians, and as he leans over, put in a wee fart smell. So he leans over and it goes, "Purr," and he goes, "Do you think that's air you're breathing now?" And everyone goes, "Hee hee hee hee." He made a fart joke. But yeah. So that's one of my. I think that's possibly my favorite scene in that film. Is just because of the iconic fight scene.
Yeah, I think it was it was one of my at least top 3.
Yeah,
I'd say.
And then also in that scene is where we get our first glimpse of Neo's potential. When he's fighting Morpheus, because at the very end, like, his fists start moving at lightning speed, and then he like goes and like stops himself from hitting Morpheus, and he's like, "I know what you're trying to do," and it's just like, whoa, okay, there's something there.
Yeah, because he does he not spend 10 hours in there before Morpheus comes in? I'm pretty sure there's a line where he says, "Oh, how long's," where they kind of, him and I think, what's the guy's name? I never caught his name. The guy who does all the controls. It start with an L.
Tank.
Tank. That's
there's
it.
Tank,
start with an L.
And there's
There's
Dozer.
Cypher.
Cypher's the bad guy.
Yeah. Cypher's the guy who sells them in. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tank, he said, there's him and Morpheus having a conversation. I'm pretty sure he says to Morpheus, like, "Oh, he's been in there 10 hours or something like that."
Yeah. So, out of the time that he's been like downloading that like training programs into his head, but yeah, it's like 10 hours of stuff. So he's like, oh, which is why he wakes up and looks at Morpheus and he's just like, "I know kung fu." So yeah, but obviously through that and through fighting Morpheus, he's actually learned that he can be like impossibly fast.
Yeah.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me. That's brilliant. I love it. And of course, then
that wasn't Martin quoting the film. Me and him are actually having a cyber fight while we're talking about this.
Yeah. And then of course, they then load up the jump test, and Morpheus run, "Free your mind," and doesn't run and jumps the building, and then Neo's getting ready to do it, and they're all watching in the ship on the screens, and it's like, "Oh, what if he makes it?" And it's like, no one has ever made it on the first jump, and what does it mean if he doesn't, and all this stuff, and it's like, it doesn't mean anything. And obviously he runs and jumps and he still fails, hits the ground.
Yeah.
And
but it's one of those clever things where we as an audience, or at least me as an audience, expected him to make it.
Yeah. It's
like, it was one of those that you go, "Oh yeah, he's the chosen one, so he's gonna make it." And then that's obviously where people do have, that's one of people's arguments as to why he wasn't, because it's like, well, if he was, then surely he would have been able to make that jump, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's like one of those clever things, because obviously later on in the film, when he goes to the Oracle, I love the Oracle scene, just because of the
it's just so not what you expect, is it?
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, you don't expect it, because it's just like this wee old lady baking cookies. He's like, "Not what you expected, did you?" And I love all the stuff, just like, "Oh, and don't worry about the vase." What vase? Smash that vase.
Smash.
And then and then it's like, and he's like,
"Broke it ever not?"
Yeah. And it's like, "Oh, that's really gonna whatever mess you up later down the line." But I love the fact that before she actually says to him anything about the one, she actually just says to him, "Well, being the one, or knowing you're the one, is kind of like knowing you're in love. No one can tell you you're in love. You just know it. Anyway, I'm gonna go now and tell you if you're the one or not." And then says, "No, you're not. No, you're not the one." And it's like, anyone paying any attention to that she's just said, nobody can tell you if you're the one or not. You just know it. And then goes on to say, "Sorry, you're not the one." And he's just sitting there like, "Oh, I'm not the one." And he's like, "Oh, Morpheus almost had me convinced that I was." And I'm skipping through loads of the film here, but all these lines just go together so well, because as Neo, way down the line, after he eventually saves Morpheus and saves Trinity, Morpheus, basically Neo goes to like say to him that the Oracle said I wasn't the one. He's like, oh, the Oracle, and he's like, the Oracle told you what you needed to hear. He's
Needed
like,
to hear.
there's a
Yeah.
difference between knowing the path and walking the path, and that's my favorite line in the
Yeah.
whole film.
Yeah, that's very great. If we're talking about favorite lines, give me a second. I've got one. Here's I don't like that. I don't like the idea of not being in control of my own life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I feel like that's so true about like people in the world today. Like there's so many like people who get really hyped up over things that they can't control, and so with everything going on about like coronavirus and all that kind of stuff, like people are really, really hyped up and really panicked because they can't control what's going on. They can't control what happens to the people around them. They can't control what happens to themselves because, you know, we're in lockdowns, there's rules, there's no cure for this virus. So it's not a case of, oh, well, if you're sick, then, you know, you can definitely be healed, or if one of your family gets sick and they're at risk, then they can't definitely be healed. And it's one thing that really unsettles people, especially in nowadays, is like, because people don't believe in as much in higher powers and stuff like that anymore, then they like to be in control of their own destiny. Or there's like a big thing where, oh, you're in control of your own destiny and stuff like that. And then that really gets people shook when they can't. So obviously with the virus and all that kind of stuff, we're seeing that in the world now, that people are so scared because they can't control what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't do anything. They've got to sit at home, and they better be sitting at home, because if I see you out and about, then I'll
if
rapid matrix punch you.
Yeah, I was going to say, people at home couldn't see. He was doing a very good example of punching people really quickly. Whoa! And I was just like, no one can see that.
Fast hands. Got fast hands.
Watch out, Neo.
Anyway, continue on with this movie.
So,
I am the one.
He's beginning to believe. The whole after all that stuff, they're seeing the Oracle, and he's away up the road.
Had a cookie.
He had his cookie, and he's away up the road to basically go home.
He's away up the road.
Away home.
Up the road.
And obviously, as they're going into the building, Neo sees the cat and sees Deja Vu.
Yeah.
And obviously, you discover that that's a sign that they've changed. That's a glitch in the Matrix. They've changed something, which I thought was really cool, because people in real life get deja vu sometimes. So it's just an interesting play on thing. All deja vu means there's a glitch in the Matrix, and you're like, oh.
And it's how like deja vu is like nothing to him. It's just like, oh, that's, you know, it's just like, oh, that's a bit weird, and they're all like, what?
Yeah,
there's no such thing.
Yeah, and they're like, what did you see? What exactly did you see? Was it the same cat? And then obviously it reveals that this is a whole big setup. They bricked up the walls to the entrances to where they were going.
So, because is this not when they've been sold out?
Yeah, so Cypher at this point
is this not the start of when Cypher sold them out?
Because as they're going to the Oracle, Cypher, like, I think he like dials a number and then chucks it in the trash.
Yeah.
So
he's got the phone.
Yeah. So they can obviously trace what's going on or whatever. So obviously big setup from Cypher, who wants to get out of the Matrix. He wants to go back to his life beforehand.
See, that's funny as well. It's not funny, but that's something as well. It's like people can't actually handle it when they're in it either. Yeah. So he'd rather, knowing what he knows, he'd rather go back to what he kind of knew beforehand, in the sense of, this is too much, because they're obviously fighting for a cause. Like every single one of them that knows. I mean, it's not like protesting, like when you're just, it's not like a peaceful protest that they're doing here. It's a full-on riot.
Yeah.
You know?
And the thing is they're actually
going against the system.
Yeah. So
you're going to get, especially if it looks like you can't win, or he can't do anything about it, because, like they say, nobody's came face to face with an agent or something like that.
Yeah.
Then
said no one has ever come face to face with an agent and lived. All of them have died, but the agents hold all the keys to all of basically the Matrix, and obviously this kind of goes into more of it in the future films, but They hold all the keys to all the doors to everywhere that's important in this thing, and someone's gonna
Yeah.
have to stand up to them eventually.
Yeah.
So which is
But
why.
it's that it shows that people do get tired of them. Like, it's not this paradise world. They're always forever running.
Yeah.
And you may know it, but it doesn't. You may know the truth, but hey, some people can't handle the truth.
The truth. You can handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. And his condition
his
condition for going back is that he doesn't remember anything. He's like, I don't want to remember nothing, because he knows that he wouldn't be able to handle it if he remembered that, if he knew what he knew now.
Do you think that they actually have that power though? Like the Agent Smith, do you think they have the power to send people back, or do you think they were going to double cross him anyway?
I definitely think they were going to double cross him.
Yeah, I had a feeling that, but we never got the chance to see that.
Yeah, from what I was looking at, I was actually watching it today, and I think it does, but very subtly. They're kind of, it's like the agents are talking and they're saying that they got away or something like that. But we don't know whether they got out or whether they're dead, sort of thing, or whether Cypher actually went through with it, which is why they were saying, so we need to continue as planned, send the robots, or whatever they're called. So what I think they were actually planning on doing was getting Morpheus and then just blowing him up anyway, was what I think.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
So I think they were just lying to him to get what they wanted. I don't think they would have ever actually sent him back. But we never got the chance because of the whole thing of, if when Cypher was killing them all and killing off all his crew, and he's sitting on Neo and he's like, if Neo really is the one, it would take some kind of miracle to stop me from killing him. And then, as if by magic, Tank suddenly, he's not actually died, he's just been heavily injured, and he's just like, he was like, oh, I don't believe it, and he just then shoots him, and he manages to kill Cypher and get Trinity and Neo out, which leads to the whole thing of, we need to go and save Morpheus, which Trinity and Tank weren't going to do. They were going to kill Morpheus because of what he knows.
Yeah. They were just going to leave it. Yeah.
Yeah, because if they broke Morpheus and they got the codes from him, it basically would have been the end for their civilization in Zion. So they were like, we're going to have to kill him. But obviously, from what the Oracle said, and the Oracle told them, Morpheus is going to sacrifice himself for you, and you're going to have a choice to either let yourself die or let Morpheus die. He says one of you is going to die. So he, believing that he's not the one and believing that Morpheus has sacrificed himself for nothing, he's like, no, I'm going to save him. So that's when they decide to go into the Matrix. And they go back into the bit where they can, the construct, so they can get weapons. And it's the most legendary line. It's like, what do you need? And he's just like, guns. Lots of guns. And then all the guns, all these guns.
Corridor of guns.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, no one's ever done this before.
Southern rednecks paradise.
Yeah. It's like, oh, no one's ever done this before. And he's like, that's why it's gonna work. And a fun fact, I know you've not seen them, but I'm sure other people have, is that Keanu Reeves says that exact same line about the guns in one of the John Wick movies. When they say at one point, he says, what do you need? And he goes, guns. Lots of guns. And it's just like, oh, that's a direct reference to the Matrix. It's really cool.
That's funny, because he says the same in Toy Story 4.
Oh,
what are you going to need? Toy guns.
That would be amazing.
That was a missed opportunity.
Toy guns.
That was
Lots
a
of
missed
toy guns.
I mean, you can't really talk about guns in a kid's film, really, can you?
Yeah, I suppose not. So after they get all the stuff, they go to save him, and they go into it goes to the lobby fight scene, which is like, oh, it's amazing. He goes through, ping, the security guard tower, whatever you call it, the scanner, pings, and he's like, take off any jewelry, any metal, and he just opens his jacket, and it's just like all these guns and weapons
covered.
And then that fight scene when all the guards come out with all their guns and are shooting into when they take them all on. Oh, it's legendary. I love it. It's one of my favorite. I think it could be. I don't know if it's my favorite fight scene in it, but it's certainly one of the most iconic. I think because they're like zooming about this area with all these, and it's the first time they've taken on anyone head to head in this in the Matrix, like all tooled up, and it's just like legendary. I don't know if you enjoyed it as much as me, but
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool. That is one of the scenes that I did write down. I did remember watching, going, "Damn, that's cool."
yeah. So yeah, it's really cool. And something else I noted down that I think I noticed at this point in the film is that as Neo goes through the movie and as he develops as a character and as he learns more and gets more revelation about who he is, his wardrobe changes because the whole point is when you go into the Matrix, what you're wearing is how you perceive yourself.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, he's just like wearing a t-shirt and stuff, and as he goes through it, he gradually, it's almost like I'm not sure if it is or not, but it's almost like item of clothing by item of clothing changes into what he wears in the end as the one. It's like black glasses, black, all that stuff, and by the time you get to this scene, it becomes very close or almost exactly what he's wearing by the end, but there is like a gradual process to that if you pay attention. Every time he's in the Matrix, he's slightly more like he is dressed in the end as the one, which I thought was cool. I'm just like, that's really cool how that's quite subtle, but it's like a journey that he goes on to get there, which is really cool. And then so after the lobby fight, he's on the roof, and then the agent goes to shoot him. He's got no bullets left, and he's like, Trinity!
Oh,
Help!
they've got that scene where they both got the guns to the heads. Yeah.
So there's a scene where the agent starts shooting him, and he has to dodge the bullets, and he's like, "Whoa!" And it's like, and suddenly you're like, it's when as an audience you're pretty much like, "Yeah, definitely the one," because he's like dodging, he's been able to dodge bullets, which no one's ever been able to do ever apart from an agent, and
they even say that, yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, whoa. So that's really cool. And then obviously Trinity puts the gun to his head and says, "Dodge this!" Boom, blows his head off, and he's saved for the moment. But how they shot that was really cool because all of that is like on a green screen, and it's like multiple cameras, like all filming at once, basically all around him. So basically, when he filmed it, he's more or less just like leaning backwards and just flailing his arms a bit, and then like all they do is they just like slow it down to the speed they want it to be and just move the camera
and frame it
and it's just really cool. But it's such a good shot. And as I said already, then they managed to get in the helicopter, get Morpheus, land, and Trinity saves Trinity because Trinity jumps out the thing and he saves her, pulls her back up, and it's when like Morpheus is just looking at him, just like, yes, he's the one, and even
that's the guy.
Yeah. And this is the thing. After this is what I found funny because the Trinity still doesn't, because Neo said to him, "The Oracle told me I wasn't the one." Like Trinity still doesn't think he's the one because by the time you actually get to he gets the phone in the train station as they're all going out. Mm-hmm. Trinity's saying like the Oracle. Basically, she doesn't say it, but she does at the end. But basically, what she's gonna say is the Oracle told me that I would fall in love with the one, but it can't be because I'm in love with you. So she doesn't even quite believe it, even though she's seen him dodge bullets and do all this stuff. She's still just like, I don't know. And then obviously, she picks up the phone and disappears as the agent appears, and Agent Smith appears and shoots the phone, and she just gets out, and Neo's now trapped there, and he's just standing there looking at the exit, and then he's like looking at Agent Smith, and then he turns to face him, and that's with that whole iconic line when Trinity's like, "What's he doing?" Morpheus is just like, "He's beginning to believe," and he stands up to Agent Smith. And it's like, oh, so good. He's actually believing that, no, I am the one now.
He is the one.
I am the one. And he takes him on. even though he's not fully powered up yet. He takes him on, and
He's not Super Saiyan.
yeah, takes him on and gives him a really good fight, and ends up actually beating that. The train hits
Besting.
him as Agent Smith's got him pinned down, and he's like, "Oh, goodbye, Mr. Anderson," and he's like, "My name is Neo," and then like blasts him through the roof or whatever, and he lands back down. He jumps off the train track, train smacks him, and then the train stops, runs out, and he's like, "Oh crap," runs away. He gets to that point. He's now just, I need to get out. And also at this point, the Sentinels are attacking the ship, and all sorts of crazy stuff's going on. So he needs to get out.
It's all
quick.
going wild.
Yeah, he needs to get out quick. And so as I say, he gets to the point when he runs, he gets to the room, and he's just about to. He knows the phone's ringing in that room. Opens the door. Agent Smith standing there. Boom, pulls the trigger, and then continues to pull the trigger and empties his clip into him, and Neo dies. Fulfilling the prophecy of the Oracle that one of them will die, and it's Neo. And you're like, oh well, that's game over.
That's that. Next film.
And then
bum, bum, bum.
the whole thing comes back around, with the whole resurrection story comes back around, and Neo comes back to life. And gets resurrected.
It did take 3 days, though.
Didn't take 3 days. But hey ho. So yeah, anyway, so he managed to come back to life, because he's obviously the chosen one. And he then kills Agent Smith.
Or is he?
Well, you'll find out after you see the next two movies. Yeah.
Or will I?
Or will you? Yeah. So, and that's more or less all my notes for the film. I'm taking you right through it now.
Well,
you have a question.
Yeah, there was. It wasn't a question. It was a point I'd like to make.
Okay.
The whole him and Trinity thing, like the romance, that came so out of nowhere. Like, and it was almost to the point. It was like, why? Why did she need to? I mean, fair enough. It was there was the whole tension of, she told me I would fall in love with the one, and I was just like, why? Why did you need to? Like, she doesn't need to. Like, and there's no inclination throughout the whole film that she loves him. Like, they've known each other like 2 days or whatever. Like, yeah. I don't know how far the film is, but to me it felt very unearned.
Yeah, Neo doesn't do much to earn it. It's one of those ones that
it's not Neo. The writing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's one of those ones that I mean, you can see that she's there. There's wee bits where she's like bringing dinner to him, and Cypher's like, "Oh, you didn't bring dinner to me," and all this stuff. And there's wee hints that she likes him, but to extend it to "I'm in love with you" is quite a stretch. It is one of the if you were to pick it apart, that's one of the criticisms I'd have, is the love story is very sort of like rushed in terms of. I mean, it's very heartwarming, and it's a lovely plot device that they use over the next couple of movies is their relationship. But for in this film to go from just meeting each other to her being in love, and it's quite a stretch. But I agree. I do agree. It's a bit of a stretch.
Fair enough. Well, that was all I had to say.
Cool. So yeah, I just love that. Oh, as a sort of general overview, or roundup, I just love that movie. I love the concepts. I love the action. I love the acting. I think Keanu Reeves is fantastic.
Yeah, the acting's very good, and I concur.
Yeah,
I think the acting is very good in it.
Yeah, and considering, like I say, the effects, considering it was made in 1999, most of them still hold up today, as being amazing. There's very few things that I can take away from this film saying, "Oh, I didn't like that." I think it's fantastic, and that's why it's in my top films.
Yeah, And if you were to give it a rating out of 10, Martin, what would you place that to?
I would give it an 8.5, I think.
Okay.
It's. I love the film. In fact, I've changed my mind. I've already changed my mind. It's going to an.
Oh,
It's a 9. It's a 9. I just say the only
it's a German.
9.
A 9.
Yeah, exactly. The only reason why it's not getting the full 10 is like the love story between not Morpheus, between Neo and Trinity is a bit kind of rushed and comes out of nowhere. But in general, it is fantastic. I don't really have any criticisms apart from that of the movie. So yeah, give it a solid 9. What about you? What would you give this film out of 10?
I'm going to give it a 7.5.
7.5. That's still pretty decent.
Yep. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. But like I say, I'm not rushing back to go and watch it again. It's a very interesting concept. And again, intrigued for the sequels. But it's not something that I'm going to rush back to watch.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll maybe watch it again in like a year.
Yeah. Cool.
Or whatever. But yeah, 7.5.
Excellent.
It's a
I'll
respectable
take that.
score.
I would have been disappointed if you turned around and said, "Oh, I hated it," or "Yeah," but
It's a 2.
But yeah, the fact that you still liked it to an extent, didn't love it, but still liked it, I'm happy with that. Cool. So, I believe next week is a movie that you've picked.
Yep. This is when it starts getting hard because I talked you into my process of how I actually choose these.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I mean, I'll be honest, right? This whole top 10, top 20, top 5, all this, the way that they kind of, like all them kind of ranking systems, I don't do that. I don't like that. Because of how movies are and because of what movies are and how they can change or how they can appeal to you in one season and then be completely different to you in another season. Like you can watch a film when you're young, like I have, and giving it like a 10 out of 10, which I have, and then watch it when you're older and then go, actually, that's not fantastic.
Yeah.
There was a couple that were tossed up in my mind between this, but the one I'm going to choose is because I kind of said it to someone, just talking about a film in general, off the cuff, and I've not stopped kind of thinking about it ever since, so it's kind of stayed in my mind since, even when I was thinking of other films. I'm going to go for Disney Pixar's Inside Out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one of those ones that's, again, it's not one for the quality of the film, although it is an amazing film. It's more of what the film means. Not to me as a person, but just in general, I really have, I really love the film's meaning and how it's been used since it came out for different, in different educational purposes and stuff like that. So, yep, that is what I was going to choose. It was either going to be that or The Lion King. I may do The Lion King at some point, or if you get The Lion King, but don't tell me. I may do that at some point, but for next week at least, because I don't want to be too obvious with films, it's going to be Inside Out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's a film that I liked, didn't love, but I love what's in it, like the meaning behind it. So it's going to be interesting to discuss.
Yeah, well, that's the same. Yeah, that's the same as me. I think it's going to be one that I liked it. I mean, as we kind of saw last time, and thank you to anyone who messaged me after the last podcast, is that people like films that have something to talk about, or people can talk about them.
Yeah.
And I really think this film is like that it does give people a conversation, and people do have opinions on it, and people do have things they want to say in it. So that was one of my reasons to thinking behind it. So as well as picking for myself nowadays, I'm also picking for the audience.
I'm picking for you guys.
So yeah. So I am the voice of the voiceless. No, kidding on. But Inside Out, I enjoy the movie. I'm looking forward to watching it again. Even the heartbreaking bits, because there is plenty. But I do have at least one other film that I want to do before we finish, but I'm saving that.
You're saving it. Okay.
I'm saving that
Cool. Well, that'll probably end up
before
being
we do that. Before we wrap up this fives, but I'm saving that last
the
one.
fives. How many have I done now? Like, have I picked? I picked three.
Three.
And we've
Yeah.
done, what, 2 of yours so far? This is number 5. This
Yep.
is number 5.
Yep.
Cool. I've only got 2 more picks.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, thank you very much if you've joined us for all of those episodes. This is the end of another episode for today. Thank you very much to Martin for picking The Matrix and expanding my movie palette.
Yes. Yep. It's been. Thank you for actually watching it, paying attention, and being willing.
I could have just have lied.
Thanks for willing to actually watch something you've not seen before. So this has been good, and hope that you've enjoyed it as well. Listeners at home, and we'll catch you next week where we'll be reviewing Inside Out.
Okay, remember, if you do want to follow us on any social media, you can find us on Instagram at MovieProbeOfficial, Twitter at MovieProbeOfficial, Facebook at MovieProbeOfficial, and also on YouTube. If you cannot find any other way to listen to us, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Buzzsprout website. But again, if you can't listen to us through those apps, you can find us on YouTube at MovieProbeOfficial.
There you go. You've done a very good job at
so that
hitting
you'll
people
find
up there.
all. Yep, I've done it there. I've thought of it all. So again, thank you very much everyone for listening. I've been Stuart. That's been Martin. We will see you next week.
Goodbye and thank you. Goodbye.